This is my video race report for January 2023, my first event on the West Coast with CVMA. In the mock race, I was probably the only one that had actually done a race start before. The night before I was planning to leave, I realized I completely dropped the ball on bike prep. The rules are a little bit stricter here than they were in the Midwest with CCS. The night before, I was trying to flush the engine ice coolant out of my bike and replace with water wetter. I was also trying to safety wire the coolant drain bolt and drill and safety wire the front fork pinch bolt and the rear axle nut. This was the only guy that seemed to be able to keep up with me, and I think he was sandbagging because he was about 10 seconds faster the next day, I think, but he waited until the last lap to make his pass. I had used up all of my cobalt drill bits I got on Amazon, and I was starting to think I wasn't going to be prepared in time. But the next morning I ran to Home Depot, picked up some Milwaukee brand drill bits that worked much better, and I was able to finish the job. When I went to load the bike, it wouldn't start up. So I started tearing into it, trying to figure out what the problem was. It was starting to look like this weekend wasn't going to happen, but it turned out there was no issue. I just had to jump it. The battery just got depleted from starting it up as I was working on it, just to make sure everything was connected. So the bike was all ready, I got everything all loaded, got on the road, everything back on schedule. I was most of the way there, in the middle of the desert, on a 2-lane highway, when all of a sudden someone was passing me, and the woman in the passenger seat was hanging out the window, desperately trying to flag me down. So I pulled over, didn't see anything in my mirror, had no idea what the problem was. It turned out that the sewer hose that gets stowed under my trailer, it somehow come loose, and it was actually dragging along the highway. Not a big deal, easy and cheap enough to replace. Then when I got to the track, I realized that I was out of propane. Once again, completely my fault. I should have checked before I left. But luckily, they do sell propane trackside. They also have gasoline available as well. So on Friday, I was doing the new racer school to get my race license again. It's basically like a track day with some classroom sessions in between, and then there's a mock race at the end. So similar to learning curves in the Midwest for CCS. Everything was going well. I was learning the track, getting up to speed. Then suddenly, after my last track session before the mock race, my rear tire warmer stopped working. Now, this is pretty critical. You don't want to go out on track with a cold tire. But luckily, the Dunlop tire dealer was able to sell me a new set of tire warmers to get me through the weekend. CVMA handles tech inspection a little bit differently. If you want your bike teched the night before, you just park it under the canopy and they tech the bikes one by one. They actually failed me at first because of the coolant drain bolts not being safety wired, but I think they just didn't know where it was on my bike. Anthony Lugnut Norton got that straightened out, and I knew who he was from YouTube because he has an awesome lap review video for Clockwise Chuck Walla. Highly recommend it. I think overall, Chuck Walla is an awesome track. I'm glad I got my race license with CVMA. The surface is great, lots of grip. The layout was really good and interesting, kind of a long track, but not too long. It's great for spectators because you can see pretty much the whole track from the paddock. You might need some binoculars to see clearly, but it is pretty amazing. It is kind of in the middle of nowhere, so you're not gonna go out to dinner somewhere, nearest gas station like an hour away, but they sell pretty much everything you need there. Here was a highlight of my weekend. After making a few passes with clear track in front of me, I go nearly 2 seconds faster than my previous lap for a new personal best. So overall, I think it was a successful weekend. I'm just happy I'm back racing and felt like I had a little bit of competition in me. Right now, going forward, I'm thinking of skipping the February round and going back in March to pick up where I left off, going clockwise, and to conserve some money. I don't know if I'll be doing track days at Chuck Walla. I feel like racing just gives me more enjoyment and more motivation to go faster. So I think I'll just focus on Chuck Walla for race rounds and try not to feel like I have to go every single round. I'll just go as I feel like it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Are there other tracks or organizations you think I should try out?